The Independent Fiscal Advisory Council, which assesses whether the government is meeting its budgetary targets and objectives, has issued its first ever report. I'm joined by Dan O'Brien, Irish Times economics editor, to discuss its contents. Dan, can you outline the main thrust of this latest report for us, please?
Well, I think the big item in the report is the new Council's advocacy of a significantly bigger fiscal adjustment in every year out to 2015. The report believes that the government's fiscal adjustment this year will meet overall targets. Those targets are included in the EU-IMF bailout, but that because of weaker economic fundamentals over the next few years, that those targets will be missed in 2012, 13, 14 and 15, and the government will have to implement a bigger adjustment to achieve the targets. But it goes further than that. It says that those targets themselves are no longer sufficiently ambitious for a whole range of reasons, and that not only should the initial targets, more will have to be done to meet the initial targets, but it advocates going even further. So currently the plan is to introduce a budget adjustment package, that's increases in taxes and cuts in spending, of 3.6 billion next year. It says that if it's going to achieve its 2012 figure, it's going to have to go up to 4 billion. But it says it needs to go further than that for a range of different reasons, primarily to bring the overall debt levels down over the longer term. It advocates going to 4.4 billion next year, and in each subsequent year, 13, 14 and 15, it says essentially the same thing, that bigger adjustments will have to be made just to meet targets, but it advocates going even beyond those targets so that the debt levels are brought down more rapidly.
So part of the deal on the EU-IMF memorandum of understanding was an agreement to set up this council. Can you tell us a little bit about it and what its function is?
Well, in many countries in recent decades, there have been independent fiscal councils that have been established because it's felt that if you have an independent entity that can analyse governments' budgetary policies and projections, that it prevents governments from using budgetary policy, for example, at election times to help win elections, but cause economic problems after elections. It also enhances the quality of the public debate on the options governments have between higher taxes and more spending, or lower taxes, less spending, to improve the quality of the debate. Both coalition partners wanted to do this before they got elected. As it turns out, it's something that the EU-IMF bailout imposed on the country. It had to be set up by June. It was set up last June. There are five people on this council. They're all independent and well-respected economists in their own right. So given the quality of the people involved, the quality of the report, the fact that the institution was set up because it was deemed to be something necessary under the terms of the bailout, this has a significant impact. The government will be publishing its pre-budget outlook by the end of the month, and then we'll know much more of the detail in terms of both next year's budget and subsequent budgets, and this is likely to feed into it and be influential. So I think given the range of voices that have advocated a bigger than programmed adjustment, this makes it even more likely the government will go beyond the 3.6 billion that it's committed to.
Is there anything else of interest contained in this report that we should be made aware of?
There are a whole number of things. Three things are particularly noteworthy, perhaps. One is that it urges the government not to make specific pledges to various interest groups who benefit, for instance, from public expenditure. It also plays up the importance of maintaining goodwill of the bailout partners, not least because there is a possibility that additional funds will be needed if if everything doesn't go to plan. And in terms of the longer term debt levels, it cites reasons of intergenerational equity for bringing the deficit down, bringing the level of public debt down more rapidly, so that future generations aren't burdened with this, having to pay back the debts that have been run up by this generation.
Dan O'Brien, thanks very much.
Thank you.